This week we're riding wheels of steel with a Swedish scooter that's as flat-packed as its furniture.
With the curve folding, we dance with the metal.
Joe's investigating the future of passwords and passcodes, and they're looking a little different.
It's probably not enough to fool you, but can it fool a machine?
AI in agriculture. How technology is helping farmers in India to make smarter decisions about their crops.
And the robot that sinks seaweed.
In the future, we'll be able to gather information about wind speeds, temperatures on the surface, and map everything.
Scooters. They're lean, nifty, greener than cars, really green if they're electric. But there's one thing about them that could still be greener. The way they're made and what they're made from. This is Still Ride 1. It has one very unusual feature. Its chassis is made from one piece of steel. All the curves, all the lines have been folded like origami, following a design by its creator, Tuve Beyer.
With the curve folding, we dance with the metal.
The reason is not just about aesthetics. See, a typical scooter is assembled in special factories from more than 100 parts, and then it's shipped around the world. But for this bike, all that would need to be sent anywhere is the design.
Because a bike, if you would send a bike in a crate, you're shipping air. You don't want to ship air. Whether you're in Sweden, you're in England, you'll probably find sheet metal, right? So it's better to send the code rather than to send your final product. That's very, very efficient way to do it, you know? So you want to produce near the end customer.
I've been given permission to fire the laser.
The plan is for locally sourced steel to be laser cut into the flat chassis pattern, and then for robots to bend it into the right shape, like these ones are currently doing for other simpler objects. All in all, there are 15 components, including a saddle that also starts life flat.
And once it's all been folded up, it comes here to be welded. And it looks like this.
While the design is still being perfected, the prototypes are bent manually. The curved folds in particular are hard to get your head around. Stillride has developed its own software to calculate how to get the shapes that they need, with help from a hand-cranked folding machine back at the office, that is. But I know what you're thinking. Without all those bolts and screws and separate supports, can a folded piece of metal be strong enough to ride around on?
If you put a straight fold into a material, it doesn't become that strong, because even if you lock one side of the fold, it can carry on bending like that. But if you put a curved fold into a material, then as you change the shape on one side of the fold, it forces the other side into a particular shape too. And that means if you lock this side into position, the whole structure becomes rigid. The best example I've seen of that is your French fries container, which is pretty flimsy when you're only using the straight folds on the edge, but there are two curved folds on the bottom, and if you engage those, the whole thing locks into place and your chips don't fall out.
The bike that we created now, or the chassis that we've done for the Still Ride 1, compared to a competitor bike, it's a tubular frame, a typical scooter. We created a chassis that's even 50 times stronger or more stiff, rigid than the tubular frame.
Stilride has bigger ambitions than just 2 wheels of steel. Parts of larger vehicles could also be made this way, along with the footings for wind turbines that would imitate tree roots. And really, even whole bridges? Well, maybe in sections. One step at a time though. The scooter goes into production later this year and it'll cost €15,000.
That was bringing back memories of trying to build flat pack furniture.
Yeah, but here you get a nice person or one day a robot to bend it into shape for you.
True. Now, if I was to ask you your mother's maiden name, the place that you were born, and the name of your first pet, would you tell me?
No!
Correct, because
then you'd have enough to reset my password.
and we've all been there, created those wonderful, unique passwords, but then realised we've got so many websites to use them on that you don't know which password goes with which website.
Yeah, exactly. But we might soon all be able to leave passwords behind because the tech giants are working on a new passwordless solution called Passkeys. Now, this is where whenever you log on to a website or a service, your phone vouches for you. For more on Passkeys, here comes Joe Tidy in a mask and a wig.
Passkey.
Passkey.
Passkeys. Passkeys. Passkey.
You may not yet have heard of them, but passkeys are the future of how we stay safe online. Dozens of internet businesses, large and small, are hoping this new bit of tech will finally kill off the password. So what are passkeys and why are they a step up from what we've been doing all these years? Well, if you think about an online service as a door, you get in by putting in your password or a passcode. But this is obviously insecure, as all a fraudster needs is the code or password, and they're in. A passkey acts a little bit like a key card. It checks who I am as well as if I have the right code. But with passkeys, it's all done on a device and with clever encryption. Setting up a passkey takes a few minutes. The online service asks you to verify your identity using your device. It's not hard, but it is more of a hassle than setting up a username and password like we've always done. So why is this huge shift taking place, and is it worth it? Well, it's because passwords are, and always have been, a terrible way to keep us safe. How bad are passwords as a security measure?
Awful. I would say that if a company is restricting things only by password, they're 100% vulnerable. We will always get in.
Corey Macy is a hacker for the good guys. She's been breaking into computer networks for companies for years to help them improve defenses.
People are really bad when they create passwords. 9 out of 10 times when I go into an environment and I try the password summer 2023 or winter 2023, you're going to get a few accounts. We find that people frequently use seeded passwords, like National Predators 12. That's the first password that they made. And then across every platform, they'll just change it, a very minuscule amount.
Passkeys, do you think they're going to help things?
Yes.
Make your job harder?
Definitely harder, yeah. The field is always changing.
Passwords can, of course, be made more secure if you're willing to put the effort in. Keeping a password secure these days is a bit of a process. First of all, of course, you've got to have really complex passwords across every different online service. Impossible to remember, so then you need a password manager. Then you need to have multi-factor authentication as well. So if you try and log into a service that you don't normally have on, let's say, this device, it's a hassle. It's no surprise that the cybersecurity world has largely failed to get the general public to jump through the hoops needed to make passwords safe. My password manager needs an authentication code. So now, whether we like it or not, the future of logging in online is through our phones with thumbprints, PIN codes, and increasingly facial ID. But how safe is your face? Well, here in the Fraud Lab at online identity expert Onfido, they think like criminals to try and trick login services and improve security. It's probably not enough to fool you, but can it fool a machine?
Well, you can make the 2D version at home very simply, printing it off the right size and then cutting out some holes. It's very unsophisticated, it's low tech. These masks, as you can see, they vary in quality, and the trick there is some of them might look similar to the person that's on the document. But what we've found increasingly over the last few years certainly is that we've found more and more what I would call professional fraudsters. They want to ramp it up. They want to be doing several hundred checks or onboarding attempts over the course of an hour. Instead of using masks, they've started using deep fakes in the biometric side of it.
So I am now you.
Yep. And if you smile, you have my smile. Yep, that's my smile.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing, because the photo doesn't have my smile on it. Because you sent us a single front-on shot, and again, this isn't from the video you sent.
Oh, okay, this is from just a still picture?
Yep, and I could have done this from an image on the internet, and now we're both you.
So weird. Jonathan, come and have a look. You've got to come and be me.
Yep. There's Joe the cameraman.
See, I'm doing 2 jobs.
The speed of innovation in fraud is always worrying, but never more so than in the last year, as deepfake tech has become more sophisticated and readily available.
If you look just around the edge of the screen here, can you see there's
I was just about to ask, how do you actually spot it? But I can see a little bit of it's
distortion
picking up this
pattern
here, right? Okay.
And if you look just around the edge of my face, so just around here, when I move, sometimes you can see there's a bit of a distortion there as it sort of switches.
I can barely see it.
Right, but this is the thing.
You're obviously trained for this, and yeah.
Yeah, and it's becoming harder and harder for human beings to spot this stuff, which is why we are training machine learned models to do it.
Even with advances in deepfake tech, Simon and his team agree that passkeys that use biometrics like facial ID are a massive improvement on passwords. No system will ever fully be hacker-proof, but passkeys do mean that the future's brighter for our lives online.